Normally I wouldn't start a build series with a video opening like this. The reason why I decided to do an opening like this is as I started editing the first video of this series, I just kind of noticed how ridiculously long it is just for one episode. Normally I like to try to break it down into about 20 minutes around that time, run time. But this, I just can't seem, no matter how much I try to edit it in a way to give the type of information and content that I want to share, there's just no way I could have done it. Unless I've done it, unless I'd edited it in a way that I've seen other channels have done their series on this particular build, which kind of annoyed me. Part of the reason why I'm doing this is because of being inspired by the other series on this type of build. But one of the things I did not like on most of the ones I see out there is that you don't get to see much of the build as it's in progress, as it's going, as it's happening. Instead, you get the here it is and here's how I did it, but you don't really show on how you did it as you're doing it. You're only just explaining how you did it or what you're going to do or what you think you're going to do. But yeah, that'll make a shorter video. It's like, you know, the before and after, but I want to show the during. A lot of my things that got me inspired and a lot of questions I had, because I wanted to do this. This is something I want to do. This is actually part of the reason why I wanted this channel, why I'm doing this channel. But what I want to present is the you know, the build itself as it's happening, so you can see how it's done, the level of detail. This is a granddaddy of a kit, and I haven't done anything, a kit like this, for about 25 years. Not even close to like this. The only ones I did before it was the 1/5/32 scales of them, and this was back in the day as a teenager, done very hastily with not much resources or info on how to do it in a very accurate and professional way. As a teenager, it's just see what I see on film, try to recreate it with the instructions that it gave you. These are the colors, here's some auto glue, boom, that's it. Not even, you know, cleaning up the little pieces off the sprues. Well, anyways, just this video alone is already over an hour and 15 minutes on the little officer's lounge, which is typically one piece by itself, paint and go. But of course, you know, I want to go the extra step. I want to show you how I do that extra step all the way. So I'm just gonna, this is either going to be either something that I'll make or break this channel. Probably break it, because who the heck wants to see an over an hour on just one little piece? Well, actually I do, so maybe there's more of people out there like me, but you know, I can't predict the future. I don't know what all of you expect. So for these series here, because this is, as anybody who does this kit can tell you, these are months. This kit is months evolved. So that means even filming this is months evolved. Editing this one video took me at least 3 or 4 days just to edit it. And I was still even, and I'm trying to shorten as much as I can, but it is what it is. So I really hope that you guys who are actually watching this will watch it, and hopefully, you know, will actually make it useful for if you're doing this kit too. even though there's going to be mistakes that I'm making, there's stuff in here that I'm learning, that I've learned from watching what other people do. And for someone who has been out of touch out of these type of builds for a quarter of a century, and then to jump into this, if I could do it, you know, if with just patience, anyone else can do it. But as going forward, a lot of these videos in this series are probably going to be about this length, if not longer. I mean, over an hour just for an officer's lounge. I've already started editing the next video of it, and it's even longer, and it's just for a couple pieces. So I just really hope you bear with me on this. I hope you enjoyed the series. I hope it'll be useful for you guys. I hope you'll be entertained. I hope you have a couple laughs. I hope maybe you'll shed some tears. Yeah, maybe you'll subscribe or unsubscribe. I don't know. So let's get into part 1. Hey, I'm going to sell you a car today. No, not really. So we're going to actually start a new build, something completely different than what I typically do on this channel. Not going to build any piece of hardware. I'm not going to make a tool that improves a tool. I'm not going to do another guitar this time. Actually, we're going to do a couple model kits. Yes, very different for this build. Well, the inner nerd has been calling me for a very long time. So I'm going to do what there's already 1,000 of these types of videos here on YouTube. So now we're going to have 1,001. But what I'm going to kind of do differently is I have 3 kits here. I'm going to actually do them all at the same time. These 2 are basically the same thing, except this one's really big, this one's really small. And this one is the Reliant from Star Trek 2. So these 2 kind of go hand in hand together. As far as scale, they're the same size. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a diorama involving them 2, or hell, it'd be big enough it could be a Christmas tree topper. What's interesting about me doing these ones is these ones are known for people doing aftermarket parts and a lot of lighting and electronics. So that's what that's the kind of one of the main things I wanted to do this one. Mainly this one. This sucker is huge. We're looking at, like, I don't know, I guess when it's said and done, it's like about almost 2.5, 3 feet long in length. It's a huge motherfucker. But it's the lighting that I'm really excited about doing, and the paint work. That's why a lot of people tend to gravitate doing this kit right here. This 350 scale. I'm not going to do an unboxing, by the way. There's a million of those, and those are actually kind of boring. It's just go, hey, look at pieces, look how it's packaged. If you want to do that, go find it on some other channel. But what's neat about this one here, it's basically many kits in one, and then you put all the kits together, kind of like Voltron is. Basically, well, the first part of the series is actually going to be this one, even though I'm doing them all at the same time. The reason why I'm going to do them all at the same time is basically because what I get from this, whatever I'm familiar at doing on this, let's say the saucer, I'll be doing the saucers on these ones. It'll just be in a much smaller scale. And the paint jobs are basically similar. They're Federation starships, so they should be made either from the same place using the same materials. So the color is going to be the same. So while I have like paint specifically made for, you know, the base color of this, it's going to be the same as that. So it just makes it easier to deal with that. So I'm not like trying to custom mix, trying to get it to match perfectly again from this to this. I already have it. I'm already in it. I'm already set up for it. So I'm going to fucking do it. So like I said, the first part of the series is going to be this, even though as I'm building this, I'm already filming these ones, but you won't see these till after this one's done. So there might be a delay on when I put out another step in each part on this. So with that kind of explained out of the way, this is the one we're going to start with, and I'm going to start with a lot of the little interior little pieces, the arboretum, the rec deck, the officer's lounge, and even the shuttle bay. Those are basically like 4 separate kits in itself. I'm going to start with the officer's lounge because that's probably I'm going to say it's the easiest thing out of all of it to do. Even though there is going to be some work on this one little plastic piece, but there's some things I'm going to do differently. I've acquired a collection of a bunch of screenshots of the studio model from pretty much late as possible since after Star Trek 6 where it disappeared, from every time in between, even from when they did it from the motion picture, which is the theme I'm going for, by the way, is how it looked in the motion picture. Basically because how beautiful the 5-color pearl paint job is. That's why a lot of people gravitate to doing that. So I'm going to do that. I'm contemplating even doing another one of these sometime later after to do the Enterprise A version, which has got a more duller looking paint job, which to me, if I do it, I want to make it more weathered since it would be older, even though it's technically a different ship, but still it should show its age compared when this thing came out of dry dock. So I guess we're just going to go ahead and get started. I'm not going to go ahead and show you all the other stuff I have for this right now, like the lighting kits and all my LEDs and aftermarket stuff and blah, 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 blah. I'll explain that on the way through. Same thing, I'll be posting a lot of screenshots on why I'm doing it this way and this and that and this, because everybody's got their own way on thinking on how it should look. So with that, we're going to actually get started. I'm going to get started on the officer's lounge. So let's rock and roll on this bit. So YouTube land, what do you want to talk about? Well, I got something to talk about. I want to talk about the officer's lounge on this model kit. Compared to the way the stage set out, where they filmed the powwow with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, and what you could kind of see through the windows on the studio model of the Enterprise refit in the scene where it goes into high impulse towards Jupiter, where you can kind of get a really decent shot on what's inside of it. They did a pretty decent, good job on laying out what the set should look like to what was in the model. They even done that in quite a few other scenes, like the way they designed main engineering onto where it's located in the model or on the ship itself. The only thing that really doesn't match up would be the rec deck, because the only way that looks correct is you got to do forced perspective. But this one here is the only thing I say that they got right would be this big wall right here. Now, if you go back and watch the scene, McCoy would be sitting right here, Kirk would be standing right here, and Spock would be coming through a doorway right here. But right here, there's a wall here and an entryway here. Basically, this needs to be closed off, and there needs to be a little door right here. And behind him, this area should be like a really dark green. And over here, there would be, where it's open, a wall with, I don't know, looks like a terrible 70s Studio 54 nightclub with all the, like a bartender spot. It's like it's got a bunch of good old tasty Friday night specials. On this side here where McCoy would be sitting, this should be sort of opened. There would be a post right here. This should not be here. It would be a post and like a P-shaped looking opening. And on this side where these ugly looking, I don't know, this thing's just, they look like a disease. Over here should be like some type of, it looks like a hydroponics tank. It's just like it's cylinder. It's got glass. It looks like there's plants in it. So seeing that on this side looked like they had liquor. Over here they're probably growing some good old dank. This is more than a lounge. This is just a good time in this little room here. You don't really get a good shot on what's over here. Some of the things that are kind of different though. When you first see in the scene with them, the camera would be over here facing out towards the windows, but you would just see furniture and nothing here. But you go to the scene where Spock arrives on that long distance shuttle. There's like a bunch of junk up here. Like over here, there would be like a picture of, I don't know, it looks like Neil Armstrong. Over here would be some checkers, and over here would be probably a leftover beer can from over in here or something. I don't know. Pretty much a mess. This is not an officer's lounge. This is a freaking party. Who knows? There's probably some cocaine over here then in that case. And on here, which you can see in from the outside, from the high impulse scene, there's like abstract art, which would make sense. It's freaking late 70s, which hence all the orange earth tones and all that crap, and 70s Playboy, not really Playboy art, but you know, some pimp art, whatever. And of course they're nasty little orange color furniture that looks very uncomfortable, but who knows, maybe they have some Andorian foam or something that, you know, that makes you get an orgasm when you have a sit down or something. But who knows? Honestly, I look at it and it's like, oh, they hurts. So I haven't really checked out the 3D printed aftermarket ones on how it compares with that, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and do some mods to this and try to go best as I can. There's no way I can make it too perfect. The only thing I could do is just fill in this wall here, remove this wall here, cut a new entryway here, and make that P shape open in here. Remove a lot of these things. It should only be furniture in here. I think what I did see though in the shot with all the crap here, there was like one little piece of shrubbery right here. I may just do that right there, but the only real lights in it were from above. I like it with it being a little dimly lit, little ambiance here. So I think that's what we're gonna get started on. I think the first thing to do is sealing this up. I'll just do that with some piece of styrene. I'll just get some measurements on this one, glue it in. Same thing over here, glue it in. Some putty, I'll do some putty work, smooth it out best I can. It's kind of a hard to get in here nice and smooth, but do my best on that. And then we'll go ahead and remove what it should be. Make a little doorway right here. Probably have to come in on this side. And same thing over here, make that P shape opening and remove this, and then we can start hacking away at some other stuff. So that's what I'm going to do with this one right now, is to get on this crap. So I cut a couple pieces to fill in for the wall. All I do is just basically measure this and then measure down there, made a rectangle, kind of put it in there and kind of made a little trace on that. And I got this little guy right here. The other guy is just a little kind of like monolith from 2001 or something. It fits pretty good. So I'm gonna get some model glue because it's polystyrene to polystyrene. that's this wall. I'll shave that down after, of course, when it's all dry. So now this wall here. So hard to get this. Okay. This one I may have to use little tweezers just to put it in. This one is a little bit looser than the other one, but I can just fill that gap in with putty. So now we got both of those hallways sealed up. The glue, of course, has got to dry. Just reinforce this a little because there's a little gappage on the system. This little piece right here. Alrighty. That is that for that. Yes, while we're here, while that's setting, let's go ahead and cut off some of these dumb little things right here. Just for the sake of something to do. For the thick guy. There we go. File those down. These ones right here shouldn't be a problem. Taking out the trash, really. Okay. So grab a little file. This one's probably what I want. I think how I'm going to recreate that little hydroponic little thing in this corner here that I'm filing down. Probably do it with a piece of clear sprue. But that thing really wasn't lit, so I'm not worried about lighting it, but at least it'll look like glass. It's going to be fun to go kind of figure out how to mask that. Yes, I could have took my Dremel to this, but I'm not doing it. Now, seeing we don't really see much of what's in that corner, I'll probably put a piece of shrubbery, something, poker table maybe. Hands getting tired. And what I think I'm going to do when it comes with that hydroponic thing that's over here, because this wall has to go as well, I'll probably just put it, you know, kind of in here. That actually kind of makes more sense. Almost flush. That's kind of like my goal and what I'm doing for this spot right here is kind of getting it flush. Even though it's not supposed to be, actually, because there is a thing here. So maybe I'll just hog out a little bit so it doesn't look like a file down transition. Over here, really not that bad. A little piece of 320 here. There, did some spring cleaning. Yepers. So, gotta let, of course, my little new wall is set up. And then I'll kind of like file this flush. We'll put some putty in there. Figure out how to sand it. Probably also with one of these or something. That's probably the best bet. Try to get it to look somewhat decent. And then just kind of have to do some little recreation on how things kind of looked. Put a doorway over here and a little post and get rid of this, and yepers. And of course, like I said, there was no view screens in the back. I even hate the kit supplied view screens with the nacelles on the screen. And it was like, why? Just turn around and look out the window. It makes no sense. And it didn't have view screens. It had like 4 panels like right here. You could even see it in the studio model, and they even did it on the studio set. But of course, you know, the actual in here is really just a green room, some liquor, and a door to the turbo lift. That's what this is supposed to be. So that's the next step on this. Don't piss me off. Glue is fully dried. I just let it dry overnight. So next is to, you know, file down all this, make it same as this contour, and kind of clean up over here. Add some putty to it. Let that dry. Sand that, and then we'll be removing walls. So let's go get another little file. Over this out of my pack. I could probably just sand it, but just use the file to get it closer. It's only polystyrene. Actually, you know what? Skip that, it's a little harder. Piece of 120. Just kind of get it close. Very close. Okay, we use 320 to where I can actually see it. Let's follow the contour a little bit. We'll roll in action. Yeah. Like that. Okay. Bust out with some putty. This contour putty. Get it going. It's a new one, so it has like oil on top of it. Get it. What I call it? Drag. Okay. I use this Testor's contour putty just for like, you know, like really crappy areas. Well, what I mean by crappy is like, you know, not as much, there's really not much detail, or where I can easily sand it, where I'm not worried about ruining like nearby detail. For that, I would be trying that Perfect Plastic Putty stuff. Just seeing that stuff in action, I think that stuff would work really good. But for something like this would be fine. So I'd rather save the plastic putty stuff for, you know, like I said, the more detail. And that stuff, you know, it's not really available in mine locally for me just to go run to the store and pick up. For me to do that, I actually have to order it. And then of course you gotta wait for it to show up, and a lot of stuff I order is on Amazon, but lately Amazon has not really been delivering on time. I think they're, as far as Amazon goes, their quality has kind of suffered. as far as, you know, well, customer service, as far as, you know, being reliable and on time. And heck, I'm even finding other places that actually have it cheaper, and it'll arrive in the mail on time. I'm actually just going to be loading kind of a vigorous amount in here. Usually any type of gap filler stuff, as it dries, it shrinks a little bit. So I'm just kind of leaving a little bit here. And of course my finger won't fit in here to get inside here, so I'm just using like a popsicle stick just to kind of spread it. I got more detail tools in here to fix everything else. So I think that's good for that. So now, of course, this putty stuff's got to dry before we can really do anything else. So yeah. So let this dry and we're going to sand it. Okay, I'm going to step back in for a moment just to also let you know, like this stuff is actually kind of crap. I forgot to mention that earlier. But like I said, the only reason why I would be using this, it would be for like areas that you really are not going to see that great, where the detail is not super critical, and you literally have to like use all the tricks that you can just to kind of make this stuff be somewhat decent. Just like what I did on here, I let it set up for a little bit, and I took like, you know, I got a dental tool here and just, you know, just kind of like detailedly pull the excess away and just leave it only what I want in there. So it's a little bit of less sanding, and take a Q-tip and, you know, dip in some rubbing alcohol, and it kind of thins it out a little bit, just to make it a little bit more usable. But anyways, this stuff, it's just letting you know, I wouldn't use this stuff for the whole model. I would hardly use much of this at all. That's why it's so cheap. It's okay for a super pinch, and like I said, where detail is not that critical. But like in here, it's not that critical either, because you're really going to have a hard time seeing this through the windows, and you got to take extra. I took the extra steps to make it best as I can. Plus, you know, it takes a long time to fully dry before you can really do anything with it. So with that, there's nothing I can really do about that at this point. Instead of just sitting here and twiddling my thumbs, picking my butt, it's actually safe enough to kind of start working on what needs to be hogged out for just to make it look more screen accurate. Some of this I'm just going to kind of do by eye, and then or some penciling. One thing I know for sure is this wall has got to be notched out. I don't know if you can see it, probably not, probably better after I start notching it out. There's really only like supposed to be like a pillar right here. So, and I've kind of studied the screenshot quite a bit, so I kind of know how it's supposed to look. It's actually kind of rounded in here. So that's for that one. So probably deal with that. What I'll do is grab my pin vise and just kind of start working in, you know, corners where it's got to be. Probably just actually make a bunch of little holes down the line. That's one. This part's going to be a little bit tedious. Just do my outline. Basically at all the corners. Except over here, this is actually kind of rounded. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just drill a hole that's really close to the diameter of what that curve's supposed to be than just trying to do it by hand. This will make that radius pretty nice. Yeah. Let me go find a quick drill bit. Oh yeah, this one's perfect. It's like I'm nuts. Now, this is tricky. So, I'm just trying to take it at the slowest speed as I can. Okay. Success. Now I'm just going to drill holes around the perimeter still. It just so makes cutting this out a lot more easier. Over in here, I can just hog this out and just file it. But this inner one is kind of difficult. That's why I haven't done this yet, because I can use this as a guide to lay it, and same thing over here, because this corner here is pretty much the pillar that's going to stay. This is tedious, and boy, it's going to be hell on the fingers. But it's all about the name of the game here. Okay, so let me go get my hobby knife. Now, here's the fun part. Because this plastic is kind of thick right here. Almost like I need a micro saw or something. I did see on somebody else's channel that there is a tool that's made for something else, but it basically turns a hobby knife into like a hot knife, and it cuts this stuff out like butter. Okay, alrighty. So I got the initial cut. Now I'm gonna find one of my smaller files here and do the tedious cleaning. Trying not to lose some of the furniture that's right there. Maybe I can just hog this little nub out. Actually, I kind of did the trick right there. A little arch from that. I do have a round file that'll help with the contour that I made, but make it stand out a little bit more. That's almost pretty close to accurate. Do a little more hogging. Alrighty. Got an entryway over here. Clean up a little bit. Now, I think I'll do this door over here before I get rid of that. Use the same technique. You can almost use that right there. There's like a little space. Like on this kit, it just shows it like there's just a space between a couple of chairs. That could be a nice, decent width for the door. But of course, it goes right in the middle, so that's probably not going to happen. We're going to end up losing one of the chairs, but it's okay. Plenty of chairs. I can lay on the floor. Hey, the tedious part of making entryways. Yeah, I could have took the easy route and just not done this. I could have just painted a door. But no. What's the detail on that? But then again, what's the detail of me using that test door stuff? Oh, you bastard. Okay. Well, I guess I'll have to cut that out instead. Try to do one more in the middle. But it's just not big enough to let me do that. Something is still holding it up. There it goes. I kicked the door down. Okay, let's see if I got a flatter file. I'm missing one. The one I'm looking for. Ah, there it is. This one can go right through evenly on both. Almost a square door. That junk, where's that? Yeah, it's a junk. There we go. Now if the I would say the aftermarket 3D printed rec deck is more studio accurate, I'd say go for it too, but just doing this because I can. There, we got doorways. So now, got to remove the wall. That I think I'm going to actually cut out with a Dremel. We get that set up. See how this little cutter does. Probably can't see it, so I'll try this end. I'm leaving a little extra meat on it, so it gives me room to have something to file off. Because if I take off too much, that's it. Or if I can cut the rest off. Yeah, because it's a thick chunk of plastic. Hey, brought it down closer, just got to square it up. Still need more, still feel a little lip. course, I see a little thing here that I want to like, ooh, that looks not right. Let me just get it while I see it. Then I get sidetracked. There we go, a lot closer. A little better. Not quite yet, almost. Okay. So that's where we're at right now. So what I'm also seeing, because go back to how the set looked for the officer's lounge, that hydroponic dank vending machine, whatever, that's kind of similar over here. I have no idea how far back it goes. Maybe it goes all the way in here. This is what this entryway in here for. So you can go ahead and hit your dispensary or something. But of course, there's a lip here that drops down to here. I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same crappy putty, because it's a big deal, so and just kind of build a little bit up here, and then after that dries, then we'll just go ahead and do all the fine sanding. So I'm just going to add some putty right here, just to build up a layer. Turn to oil again. Get some of it out first. Okay. Just to make a ramp or some crap. That's good enough. Yeah, it just looks like a booger, but that'll work great, because after all, I'm gonna just, sand it super down smooth. So this is going to dry overnight. Of course, I got the modification that I wanted done. I'm kind of debating now, right now, put in a wall on this side where the green room is supposed to be, because you see in the film, you see the booze wall over here, but without it, I mean, if you go look through, the way I kind of see it is, if you look through the windows at the right angle, you can see through the door and back, and I want to actually kind of get that. So I don't know, I'll probably decide that tomorrow, maybe, after this dries. I need to kind of think about that one. I probably will do it, because more I'm thinking about, it's probably a good idea. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I am going to do that. And it's just like doing this. I just got to cut a square out with a little higher end, a low end, and just shape it to that. So that I could do off camera. So the next thing you're going to see is this already kind of sanded down, because I'm going to do that off camera after this dries. This stuff takes a while to dry before you can really sand it properly and get that prepped and all that other stuff. And then hopefully we'll get near the painting phase on this thing, the detail work. Okay. See you in a little. All right, so it's the next day. I let my putty dried. Did some fine sanding, best I could in this little thing. Yeah, good luck trying to get in there. So I just had to use some filing, dental pick, just to kind of do some corner scraping, just kind of pull things away where I can't get any type of file or sanding in there. Ramp this area down where I'm going to put the Starfleet hydroponic Romulan ale, good old Romulan Kush. So I think the next thing is to kind of get the under and backside light blocked. And then that I'll do off camera, it's just black paint. And then we'll just start gearing up on painting this thing. I think what I'll go for first is the carpet color, which is basically everywhere down here, and it takes probably the most coverage. From what I've seen in the screenshots, that's some type of gray. And then of course, in here is going to be the dark green. I don't know if I am going to recreate the bar, or whatever it is, the collection of whiskeys. Must be Scotty's whiskeys, or Scotch, or a Darien whiskey, which Picard will give him later. Of course, there will be no view screens. No, 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 no. I don't need to put the nacelles here when you could just look out the window over here. It's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of stupid, really. I do need to figure out how I want to do the 4 panels. I may not even be able to do 4. I may be able to do just 2 or maybe 3. Because I think this opening should have been wider, maybe like out to here. But at this case, it is what it is. And besides, over here it's just going to have a hydroponic. Of course, got my P-shaped entryway. Here's the pillar, and of course it curves right here. Of course, there's the doorway where Spock stands, goes in and out. McCoy sits right here. Kirk stands right here. And then I got to figure out that abstract 70s painting over here. Still not sure what I want to put up here. Maybe nothing. I'll probably put, like I said, a piece of shrubbery over here. Maybe one way over here, because I got rid of those ugly looking things. We don't even see what's really over here, so hell with it. I'll probably put one over there. As far as how I'm going to paint the furniture, I'm going to have to kind of do it by hand, which is fine. I got a steady hand. Especially I don't really drink as much in the afternoon. So, all right, when I come back, you're gonna see it light blocked and possibly with some carpet color. So the floor is painted the gray that I want. So the next thing that needs to be painted in here is the walls, except for in there. From the screenshot, it looks like they're primarily just white. There is some like tan paneling on this inside over here. And what also looks like if there was a wall over here, there'd be one panel here. So the hard part is masking up all this with all this contours in here. So I'm just going to do the best I can, and obviously towards the bottom it's going to be like this, and so I'm going to probably have to do some sort of brush touch up. But I'm going to mask this off, and then we're going to do white. So I'm masked as best as I possibly could, so I'm going to go head up over to my paint area and just go ahead and spray some white on these walls and remove the masking, and then I guess would be for fine detail handwork. Right back. Wait, no. We'll be doing the green, but we'll go ahead and do the white. Okay. So now we have white walls. So now it's time to make a green room. So we got a green room in there. Had to do that by hand. I think it would be kind of really pain in the ass, try to airbrush right in there. So I just did it by hand. Besides, you're only going to be seeing it through the doorway anyways. Yep, but yet made sure the carpet was still gray. So, and there is, if you can see in there in the corner, there's one little chair left. Way this is kind of set up, that chair is kind of not really important, but I'll probably accent it. Maybe it's like a timeout chair or something. You gotta go sit in the corner. So I think what I'll do now is I'm thinking about doing the wall paneling. What I can see on the screenshot that it's got an it's mostly white, but as like this is, but it's got some access, like an accent tan. And I think what I've decided is I'm going to put 2 black panels here because it almost looks like windows or some way, or like some type of glass, and do another 2 over here just to kind of give me the 4 that I want. So I want to go and kind of like hand paint this just because it's going to be, I don't know, just too really difficult. I mean, it can be done, but I got a steady hand, but I do need some magnification factor 4. So I'm doing a very fine brush just to get an outline. Right, this is so small, I could just do the whole thing with this. Probably have to do a couple coats, but the white made a good base coat for this. A lot of these craft paints, I like to put a couple, little bit of squirts of a pipette from distilled water in it, just to thin it just a little bit, because this stuff is naturally thick. It's like a little, you beat it. Get out of here, little. Messing up my steez. The more surface area means the more paint I have to put on. Do a little bit also. We don't really see the side, but I think there'll probably be some there too, just to break it up a little bit. Both thin ones. All right. Something like that. I'm gonna wait to do the artwork for that wall kind of last. I think for that I'm gonna have to use like a very fine tip Sharpie or something, because the lines in it would be so thin. Even my thinnest brush, which is like this, is like, that's not gonna do it. Okay, so probably some chairs here. Usually the furniture is like a clay orange. Basically, I'm using a terracotta. I think the actual, depending on how you got to factor in, studio lighting and all that other stuff and exposures. Looking at it on my screen, it looks just a shade darker, but who knows? That's probably because of how it looks on your screen and how it's through the camera filters and lighting and all that other stuff. So it probably looks way different in real life. For all I know, it's probably blue. But in this case, I'm going to use terracotta orange because that's the closest thing that I got. And this is where these things come in real handy. There's no shame on using a brush, by the way, as long as you kind of make it look good. And just be very steady. Sometimes it takes a couple passes. A lot of times you pull paint away from the surface and you're exposing what it looks underneath. And when paint dries, paint shrinks. So you gotta keep that in mind too. That doesn't mean try to overload it at first. It means you probably have to go back and just add a little bit more later. Now they also used, I can see like gray cushions and stuff. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. We'll see. I know it's probably hard for you to see exactly what I'm doing, but believe me, when it's done, I'll give you some close-up details. And the timeout chair in the green turbo lift room. Although you won't see it, but why not? I think that's enough for the chairs. That's all of them. Now, let's see, what can I do about this center thing? You know what? I know. We'll find a brown. Thinking maybe like wood or something, just because of, makes me think of the Star Trek V, even though it's a different ship. And you really can't, and there's only one screenshot of it, and it's darkly lit, so you really don't know what color that could be. So in that case, this is really up to interpretation. That's better. And I try to remember what colors I used for each area, because sometimes you may have to go back and touch something up with the color you painted before. Like if I got a little bit of this on the carpet where the carpet is, you know, I just go put some of that gray back on it, but just dab a little bit over it, not like repaint the whole thing, but just to cover up other paint. That's that. Now I'm gonna let this dry right here. Take this thing off. And then what I'll do is I'm gonna use like my glossiest black Folk Art Onyx gloss, and I'll just put in what would be windows. Do a little touch up. It did get a little bit on the carpet, that's why I bring it up. So then we'll get that painted. Then going to figure out what I'm going to do about that hydroponics. What I'm thinking is just going to use a piece of clear sprue and just paint over that and just scrape out the paint where the little windows is and just kind of glue it right there. I'll probably test fit it in the saucer piece just to make sure it doesn't, like where I glue this won't interfere. So, right, that's what we'll do next. Went ahead and kind of set it in the saucer section around the BC deck, trying to see, like I said, on how I'm going to put the hydroponic thing. As you can see, I end up adding another wall. The reason why is when I set it in there, I noticed that in the BC deck, it's actually opened over here completely around. So whatever light that goes through here is going to retract and bounce around in here, and it just doesn't seal it up just right. Because I did this, it did it fine. It's completely its own entity, but over here it's just around. So I don't know. I'm thinking maybe the designers over at Polar Lights, I guess they assume like you can get in and out from the front and around, but in actuality, if you watch the film, you will see that there's a wall here and there's a room here. There's only one way in and out. That's the turbo lift in there. And if the turbo lift ain't working, you're in that timeout chair just waiting. That's probably why it's there. So I put this piece in this wall here, but this one is like at a 45. Because when I set it in there, the way I figured out how the angle is supposed to be, it's not going to be the same as this because it won't fit. I set it in there and just put a piece of tape along where, kind of like guided along where it would hit the wall of the BC deck to let me know on how much am I going to put in. So what it is from right where the radius starts to the top over here, it's just a straight line with a little notch right here, just so it wouldn't cover that last little window on the BC deck. So I put that in and went ahead and painted just a little bit more of the tan like I saw in the film. So that's actually makes it a little bit more accurate. And if you noticed, I already did the artwork right here. That was interesting. So I'm going to show you how I did that. And the way I did it is actually, I'm really liking it because it's thick. It's, you know, thick hand painted on, so it gives it like texture and depth to it, kind of like what you see in the film. So the way I went about that is I cut out a square like this, and then I paint a base color of black, not too heavy, but just a flat, an even layer of black. I let that dry. Then I went ahead. Remember, you got to do the mask first, by the way. You paint the black over it. Then I took an off-white color, just it's more like an ivory, and I kind of loaded that kind of on thick. You kind of need to, because because you're going over a white over a black. You just if you put a thin one on there, it's it's gonna be blotchy as hell, and you have to do this kind of quick, so you can't like wait for this to dry up and put another one as if you're gonna do anything else. So I just kind of put it on thick, and I let it set up for about 3 minutes, because what the goal is that I took my nice little dental pick, because it's got a very fine tip on it, and because I let it set. By the way, don't reduce the paint either, because what the technique is you're going to drag the paint away. You're going to expose that black layer. So, and I also kind of did the same technique for the little hydroponic thing too, to expose the windows. I'll get back to that in a minute. Well, anyways, you let it set up a bit, and I just did fine little drags, and it exposes the black paint a little bit. It's kind of similar to what it looks in the film. Not 100% accurate. I kind of freehanded it, but with the thickness of the white paint, it gives it texture like it's like a three-dimensional image, not something totally flat. And it's very, very fine lines too. There's no way I can do that with a brush. I don't even think I could do that with a Sharpie, with the fine tip Sharpie. So I just basically pulled the white paint away to expose the black underneath it, and just left it as is. So, oops. So even with that, even just looking at it, it looks like there is a physical object on the wall, because it has depth. It's raised because that paint is so thick. I am really liking on that. But also with that, kind of had to light block this side of the wall too, because when the BC deck gets lit, light's going to wrap around. I don't want to have this wall lit. I still got to paint some white over it. At the end, I'll kind of put some white on the outside just to help light bounce back around for the BC deck or whatever. So as far as this one goes, the only thing that's really left is to put in the hydroponics bay, or the hydroponic little doohickey that we see in the picture. And just long as it stays underneath, doesn't go above this wall, it'll fit fine. And put in a couple little shrubbery. Can't even hold the thing right. Put in a couple little shrubberies, and then we can call this one done. All right, gonna scraped off a little area on where the thing's gonna sit, so that way it's model plastic to, oh sorry, wrong glue. I should not be using this. By the way, I'm gonna use canopy glue for this part, because it is technically a clear plastic piece. So I'm gonna use a little bit of canopy, just right where it goes, and I scrape the paint away just underneath where it's going to sit, so it's just straight to plastic. And a little bit of it's going to go on the wall, which is fine, because the thing's going to be butted up against there too. Just going to take my tweezers and knock that little nub down. And also I pre-sanded the bottom of it, so it gives it a little flat spot to sit on. So now, come here, you little bastard. This is going to be a little tricky. I knew that. There. Maybe if I just gotta find, it's kind of hard to see it because it's painted silver. There we go. Basically, it's going to go all the way to the wall. There it is. See it? Kind of hard. Don't worry. You will all get some detail video of it really up tight and up close. So, that's for that one. Now, put in a little shrubbery. Put in one here. Right, trim this guy down. He looks kind of big. Supposed to be like basically a tiny, tiny little plant. Come on. It's like I need 2 tweezers. Because it's like stuck to my tweezer. There we go. One. Probably do another one. I'll just do both sides of this thing. Another one. Let's just split this little piece into 2. Put one over here. And the last little piece, just a really little guy. Up here. There we go. I don't think I need to really kick that. And it already wants to stay. No really real handle in it. So there's that. So I'm gonna give this some time to set up. Then I'm gonna go ahead and just clean up the edges with white. And then I'll give you a nice little close-up of it. One more thing. If you guys have the pair of graphics, you know there are little figures in there. I really want to do like the military 350 actual molded or little pieces other than these flat ones. But some of these flat ones would actually be good for more like if it's up like flat against the wall or really far back, which I want to put one in here. I'm thinking around the doorway or somewhere in that little green room, just for, you know, shits and giggles. And honestly, in the films, I prefer the red and black uniforms. I really hate the films from the motion pictures. They scream 70s like you wouldn't believe. I'm surprised they didn't give them bell bottoms. But the fact with the open shirt, hairy chest, and really up to the high, you know, short sleeves, is like, no, it's a uniform. We're not vacationing. You can't really see it on here, but I hand painted it, and it actually comes out really, really good. And I did it on here because it's obviously gonna be next to impossible to try to hand paint it, but yeah, you can really tell what uniform it is. I don't know how well we're gonna be able to see it in here. I mean, he's like right where my fingertip is. Something like that. So, it's another thing I forgot to put in. He was actually meant for the big last piece. He could be any officer you want. I'm using uniform. The fun part is actually going to get him in here. You know, I painted one side because you're not going to see the other side of this. This could be Kirk, this could be Spock, this could be Chekhov, this could be Solo, this could be Luke, whoever you want it to be. Okay. So, you get a dab of the extra thick. Just put a nub somewhere. He's got to be kind of somewhere in the doorway because anywhere else you're not going to see him. And then of course, he's got to be tweezed. This one I think I may actually have to have the tinker. I'm trying to do this one-handed. got it. Cool. Well, then I guess the trees got kicked too, so. Let's see if you can see him in the doorway. Oh, can you see him? Probably not, but believe me, he's there. It's kind of like tipping over a little bit. Let me see if I can straighten it back up. There we go. He's there. May reinforce him later. Well, yeah, I can. Just behind him. There we go. Yep. He's like Science Officer Spock. I need to take a dump. Okay, so a little bit of just white paint on the outside just to bounce light around, and then give you a nice detailed closer look. Okay, so I did some last minute little detail work. So I brought over the saucer just to test fit it again. And one thing I also didn't notice is like when you set it in, there is naturally, let me see if I can, this gap right there's this gap is like really high. So I had to go around and actually sand this down, grind this down just to bring it closer. I mean, it was really high up. I really didn't like how it looked, because when you look at it from the outside in the window, it just seems everything is really sunk in, and I'm sure you can be able to see the gap from the inside, from the windows on the outside. So with that, I just actually, like I said, just filed and grinded down some more just to bring it a little more closer. I think this is good enough. I will have to actually fill in right here, probably with a piece of polystyrene, and then I'm going to have to do something for like down in here. Over here, I just try to make sure I clear this little window over here. But that will be addressed when it's time to put the installation on this piece. Lighting, I'm sure I'm probably going to put something up in here instead. Probably more to the front, beaming back at it. So that's probably what I'll do. But that will be addressed when it comes towards that time. So now it's time to give you a closer look at the piece.